This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone, I am Dr. Juma Bishas. I'm one of the mentor of MRCOG Health. Today I will going to discuss one of the important topic that is recently published in January 2020 talk, and this is antenatal management of singleton pregnancies concept using ART, that is assisted reproductive technology. So you know that it is increasing day by day in worldwide, and about 1.5% of the baby born have been conceived through IVF. And though its outcome is overall normal, but this ART associated with maternal and fetal complications. So it's a very high risk pregnancy. We should closely monitor the pregnancy, and if any complication arise, so that we can early diagnose it and we can treat that one. So if we can classify these ART complications, like ART pregnancy complications, we can be classify it as an early pregnancy complication, maternal complication, fetal complication, and placental complication. So one by one, we will discuss the complications and we will discuss the management plan. So in early pregnancy complications, one of the important complications that can occur in any ERT, that is ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, and it's quite common. So majority of the cases, it's occur in a milder form, like in 33% of the cases, and in moderate and severe form, it is occur only 3.1 to 8% of the cases. So if any symptoms that can suspect that it's an ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, we should admit the case for assessment and for management. And we should inform the fertility clinic about admission and diagnosis. And in all cases of severe and critical ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, fertility clinic should report to Human Fertilization and Embryology Authority. So these are the things you have to follow if you face any case of ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome following an ART pregnancy. The next common complication is miscarriage. It's about 15 to 20% of the cases. And other complications, though it's very rare, like 1.4% of the cases it can occur, that is ectopic pregnancy. And in these two cases, the management just like the same as we are doing any miscarriage or ectopic pregnancy following a spontaneous conceptions. But as this pregnancy is um, very welcoming for the mother, so these are the situations can affect their psychological condition. So they should have an access to specialist counselor before, during, and after artificial reproductive technique. In case of maternal complications, the one of the important complication can arise, that is pregnancy induced hypertension and preeclampsia. Next one is gestational diabetes mellitus. Pregnancy induced hypertension, overall risk is about 2%. Gestational diabetes mellitus, overall risk is about 1%. And VTA, that is venous thromboembolism, the chance is highest in first trimester. In all the cases for risk assessment, we can follow the local and national guidelines. That is, you know that in case of pregnancy induced hypertension and GDM, there is a nice guideline. And for VT prophylaxis or management, there is a GTG guideline, that is green top guideline. So for the risk assessment, we should follow that guideline. And if there is no risk in there, in case of pregnancy induced hypertension or preeclampsia prevention, there is no role of aspirin prophylaxis. In absence of any risk for any gestational diabetes mellitus, there is no indication for glucose tolerance test. And in case of VT, if there is no risk in that pregnancy, there is no role of anticoagulations. So only we can tell them to come for regular visits so that we can assess the risk, and according to the risk, we can manage the pregnancy to prevent any kind of complication. The next is fetal complications, structural abnormalities. It's 30 to 40% increased incidence, though the risk still low, that is absolute risk is still low, that is 6.5 to 7%. So in these cases, no additional surveillance is recommended. So only in that case, like in normal pregnancy, like in singleton pregnancy, as we are doing some serum marker testing, in first and second trimester and anomalies testing in 18 to 20 weeks, only we can do that. There is no additional surveillance is recommended in case of ART. There is also a chance of growth restrictions. If there is no risk factors associated with the pregnancy, there is no need of any additional surveillance, like if there is no risk of obesity, any severe, like any chain smoking, or any massive alcohol intake, or any previous history of stillbirth, any medical disease, or if maternal or paternal SDA, there is no history, in that cases, no additional surveillance is recommended. There is a chance of stillbirth is there, so some of the consultant can consider induction of labor at term. There is also a chance of preterm labor. The chance is high, like in 11.2% of the cases, but the majority of the cases, the cause is iatrogenic. And but in preterm labor, as the cause mostly iatrogenic, so no additional surveillance is recommended in case of ART pregnancy. In case of paternal placental complication, there is a chance of placenta previa is there, placenta accreta there, placental abruption is there. But in these cases, no additional surveillance is recommended. We can do only an ultrasound in 18 to 20 weeks. If you see that the placenta is low lying, according to the guideline, we can follow the management or assessment for further persistence of placenta previa. Okay, and in case of vasa previa, so you know that it's a though it's very rare, but it's one of the serious complications can occur in the pregnancy. So during anomaly scan, if we see the placenta is low lying, so in that case we can consider a transvaginal scan with color Doppler to exclude the vasa previa. So it's very important in ART pregnancy, if you see a placenta is low lying in anomaly scan, you should do a transvaginal scan with the color Doppler to exclude this vasa previa. So regarding the pharmacological intervention, so these are the medications nowadays we are practicing, but we should think that, and we should see the guideline whether these medications are needed or not. So first is aspirin. So in unexplained recurrence, sometimes we can consider aspirin, but in ART there is no benefits of that. In case of granulocyte colony stimulating factor, for any recurrent implantation failure or persistent thin endometrium or recurrent miscarriage, there is very limited evidence of benefit. That means it's also not needed. In case of SCG with recurrent miscarriage or threatened miscarriage, there's no benefit of that. In case of heparin, if the patient have any history of antiphospholipid syndrome and recurrent miscarriage, that will, if we consider heparin, that will reduce the miscarriage rate. In case of recurrent miscarriage and inherited thrombophilia, or only history of recurrent miscarriage, or woman undergoing ART, there is very limited evidence of benefit. So that means only in case of phospholipid syndrome and recurrent pregnancy, recurrent miscarriage, in that case we can consider heparin to reduce miscarriage rate. So next is immunotherapy for women with a history of recurrent implantation failure or recurrent miscarriage. There is no benefit. In fact, it can cause some side effects like anaphylaxis, immunosuppression, and granulomatous diseases. And in progesterone, following an ART pregnancy, we can consider using luteal phase only, that can increase the clinical pregnancy rate and live birth rate. Women with recurrent miscarriage or threatened miscarriage, there is no benefit of that. And in case of ART, the steroids with a recurrent miscarriage or raised uterine natural killer cell, in that case there is limited evidence of benefits. That means in ART pregnancy, if the patient have any history of recurrent miscarriage with antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, we can give an heparin to reduce the miscarriage rate. And following an ART pregnancy, we can consider progesterone only luteal phase, that can increase the pregnancy rate and also live birth rate. So only these two medications we can consider. Regarding the time and mode of delivery, Some clinician feels that as it is increased the stillbirth rate, so we can consider induction of labor at term. But on the other hand, there is some little evidence. It's proved that it can increase the interventions like emergency cesarean section. So the decision of mode of delivery and time of delivery, that will be decided by only by the woman. Just what we can do, that we can give them options and we can tell them the benefits and risk and also the alternatives, benefits and risk, and woman will consider which option she want to go. Okay, so but there's some evidence that that can increase the stillbirth rate, so some of the cases we can consider of labor. Okay, so that's all about this small talk, though it's very small, but it's very important as because it's a very recent talk, though. So some questions can come from this talk. And after listening this session, if you have any kind of query, you can give a message on YouTube or you can send a message on our official Facebook page. We are very happy to answer that one. So thank you all for listening this session and please subscribe our YouTube channel so that you can get updated when we publish any kind of YouTube videos. So thank you. Bye.